Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Desert Biennial Project 2027 online recorded virtual info session. Before we hop in, just want to say thank you. This is the summarized shortened version of the info session from earlier today. If you have any questions, this is not a live audience. So if you have any questions, they likely won't be answered during the session because we don't have a live Q&A. So please shoot me an email at bailey@accnv.org. Okay, so first of all, I want to say how excited we are that you're thinking of applying. It's such a pleasure to have interest from our local community members to think about engaging with us in this massive project. So again, we're extremely grateful for your interest. This is a very unique opportunity to join this team temporarily to lead the curational vision for DBP 2027. If you aren't familiar with the project, please visit desertbiennialproject.com to learn more. It's really imperative that you have a decent understanding of everything that goes on as far as what the final exhibition looks like and the things that lead up to and happen immediately after. So go ahead and check us out online to learn more as you build your presentation. So the Desert Biennial Project is seeking a Nevada-based curational team made up of artists, curators, organizers, or cultural advocates to conceive, design, and curate the 2027 iteration of the biennial. So just for starters, I want to let everyone know that you are not required to be a curator or a self-proclaimed curator to write a proposal for this call. Curator is a loose term for this specific project, just because we hope that it is something that generates future skill sets so that folks can go on to create their own projects that happen after the biennial, which we'll get more into a minute. So this is a mentorship style opportunity. The DBB executive team, which I'll introduce here in a moment, offers structural support, guidance, and deadlines while giving curators the space to lead the conceptual and curatorial vision. So essentially, we're here as your support team. This is an opportunity to learn things like fundraising and permitting and logistics and also fabrication. So this is something that's very broad. Mentorship sort of thing, but again, keep in mind that we also consider ourselves emerging artists. This isn't something that, we aren't 20-30 years into our careers. We're also emerging creators just like you, unless you're mid-career. So yeah. So the Desert Biennial Project was a revigoration of a previous event, which was called the Bullfrog Biennial, which was led by another group of organizers. So in 2023, unfortunately, the Bullfrog Biennial had to close its doors, and some artists, local artists in town based in Las Vegas. So that was in 2023. Myself, Bailey Anderson, Yulia Filipov-Sedaduk, and for 2023, Carla Lagunas. We're all a small team to make big things happen. So we collected all the artists who were originally supposed to be in the biennial and invited a few others to make our own biennial, because we felt that the cultural significance of having a biennial in the state really generates something that is not only cyclical but also has long-term positive effects on the community. So yeah. What's it like to curate the biennial? Well, I don't want to scare anyone off, but it is a ton of work. It is also one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my life. It is one of those projects that, every time it's over, I wish that it wasn't. It was something that is so much fun every single time. And always comes with new challenges and new opportunities to learn and grow. So don't let the workload scare you off. It is something that is one of the most meaningful things I've ever done. Often artists give us feedback that it's something where, it gives them a chance to stretch their legs, learn things in ways that, they probably haven't done them before. It's, pushes painters into sculptors, and it pushes sculptors into new directions. And you have to think about different logistics, weather, time-based work, and things like that. So all of these factors come in new iterations just based on the unique situation of the event site, which is outdoors. Some recent challenges and successes that we've had. Something that happens every year that's always a big question mark is going to be weather. Weather, it's Nevada. The desert is super unpredictable. So the weather is always a big question mark in this project. Both years so far, knock on wood, have been incredible. We always 2025 was a little warm and 2023 was a little cold, so we're hopefully aiming to get it right in the middle this time for 2027. Logistics is always a big challenge. Signage is a challenge. Transportation, satellite exhibitions, building a stage, having audio out there, getting power out there. All these things are something that you will not be tasked to do alone. This is something that you will always have our guidance to do. So just know that when you're curating the biennial, it is not something that we're dropping in your lap. We're helping you figure out how to make your vision come to life, because we have the skill sets and the tools that we'd like to pass on to you so you can have your own project once this is done. That does not mean that you'll be inheriting the biennial. This is a skill set that you can take to other projects in your career, in your creative future. So this is something that, you go on to curate group shows, or you're thinking about broadening your horizons with solo exhibitions. All of those things are important to consider when you're doing the biennial. Last but not least, we also always see a little bit of a surprise here and there. So, for 2025, we got a surprise bill of about $2,400, which came from the Bureau of Land Management that we had not seen in 2023. So again, things come out based on the way things change, and it's really important to us that the curatorial team is able to pivot. It is really important for us to get to the end of the project and not give up. So pivoting is something that we hugely look for in an application. And so when, challenges arise, it's important to figure out how to make it work. So again, the goal of this call is to empower emerging and mid-career curators by providing access to skills that the DBP team had to originally learn unguided, which includes fundraising, project management, community collaboration, and public-facing exhibition design. These skills are all broadly transferable to future independent projects beyond DBP. The selected curatorial team will be asked to invite artists to submit proposals for the event, which they must design and fabricate. All artists are required to propose 3 ideas, which the community may select from if the artist is selected. So again, we'll get more into the artist call structure here in a moment, but the structure will follow a jury and open call format. You'll design the review committee, theme, artist invitation list, call criteria, and we're going to help oversee that by sitting in on jury decisions to ensure safety, logistics, and ecological integrity. We are not here to intervene with the conceptual, visual, or any other direction that the theme is supposed to take. You are entirely responsible for the direction that it follows. It's really important that, we are here to ensure safety, logistics, ecological integrity, to make sure that nothing happens long-term to the space, to anything complicated that has long-standing effects. So again, we have never come across this before, but every once in a while we'll get a call or an artist proposal that poses ecological challenges, or there's conversations to be had about integrity when it comes to respecting land and other things like that. So and also cultures as well. So again, we do step in when we feel that there might be some sort of a challenge or something that can't be necessarily mitigated easily, just to kind of make sure that the long-term effects of each proposal isn't damaging in one way or another. But otherwise, we're planning on keeping our hands off of the direction of the conceptual work that you're thinking of doing. So on the team, we have myself. My name is Bailey Anderson. I'm the ACCNV Executive Director and co-founder of the DBP and ACCNV. I'm also a practicing artist and educator based in Las Vegas. So the ACCNV is the nonprofit that is attached to the Desert Biennial Project. So any of the fundraising that you do is attached to a registered 501c3, which obviously helps, different donors be able to participate and things like that. The ACCNV also has other programming attached to it. This is something that, we do lots of research, we do other small programming, and we're hoping to expand in 2026. I am also serve on the chair of the executive committee, which also includes Laura and Yulia, which I'll introduce in a minute. And then I'm also chair of the development committee, which means fundraising, and then co-chair of the curation committee. Being co-chair of the curation committee just means that I have the right to help intervene if something is going wrong. It is only a means to protect you as the curators and to ensure that nothing happens that can damage things long term. Again, I have no desire to intervene on the conceptual direction. I've already done 2 of these. I don't need to do another. So you guys will be leading the artistic creative design of the exhibition. I'm here just as logistical support. Up next, we've got Laura Espenson, who's the administrative director of Art Plus Everywhere, one of our huge supporters from 2025. She's also founder of the Gallery Rag Las Vegas and a practicing artist based here in Vegas. She's also a DBP administrator and chair of the marketing committee. So if you're not familiar with marketing, or if it's hard, because believe me, I think it is a huge challenge to do marketings, and Laura is incredible. So all things social media, newsletter, emails, anything like that, Laura has got it down. So she will be an incredible resource if you're unfamiliar with what these challenges and things include. And last member of our the executive committee is going to be Yulia Filipov-Sedaduk. She is the ACCNV operations director and co-founder of the DBP and ACCNV. She's also an artist, educator, and civil servant based in Las Vegas. Yulia is going to be chair of the operations committee for DBP 2025, so that includes, stage design, sound, transportation, management, of all things physical, essentially. So again, if you're not sure how to physically fabricate something, or you've never logistically put together an event at all, Yulia has got all the knowledge that you'll need and more. And again, all 3 of us are here just as means of support. If you want to learn how to do these things, we are so happy to help and give you every single skill that we know. So again, we're here as a resource, and we're going to help you do all the hard and gritty stuff along the way. So this year we're limiting the DBP 2027 to teams of 3 or more, based in Nevada. So please don't think of not applying because you don't have a team. Just because you're a solo curator doesn't mean that you don't have a spot in the curation committee. So we have a couple different ways to approach, if a solo curator has a fantastic proposal and we've got a couple other emerging artists who want to be involved and things like that, we can help assemble a team if the proposal is strong enough. But please try and find 3 people on a team, and that can include a wide range of positions, which I'll get into in a moment. But please don't let the team-based aspect scare you off, because we will find a way to make it work, especially if the proposal is strong. The teams, regardless, should share a unified vision and be aligned on the scope and timeline, as well as be prepared for the physical demands of an outdoor lake bed exhibition. At least one member of the DBP, at least one member of the team must have exhibited in the 2023 or 2025 iteration of DBP. We only have this rule because of how complex and unique this specific event is. So, if you haven't actually attended one or made work for it, it will be likely almost impossible to get a good idea of what the event actually entails. So if you don't have a team member, but you go to our website and you see that, oh, like my friend so-and-so showed in the event in 2023 or 2025, I can just ask them to join my team and see if they're interested in being a collaborator in some sense of the word. So please don't be afraid to, make connections or reach out to folks, because you never know who's also thinking of applying but doesn't have a team member. So and some suggested roles. Again, these aren't set in stone, but think about having a lead curator, a lead writer, and a lead designer. Other ideas can include media, graphic design, workshop designer, music programming, community outreach, etc. Again, we understand, we've done 2 other versions of this, and everyone wears a lot of different hats. So if you feel that, distributing things, co-curators and lead writer and lead designer might not be the best fit, design a role for yourself that seems the most accurate. You definitely want to think about, when you're designing roles, what gaps does it leave open? Who else do you need to add, or what can you ask from us, the executive committee, to help fill those gaps? And again, these are not set in stone. Feel free to design your own roles, but please select something that is specific. Give yourself a job title, and think about how to play that out and what skill sets you currently have that you either have and are really confident in, or something that you want to learn. Okay. The exhibition scope, if you are not familiar with it, again, please visit our website to learn more about what it actually is. The curators are responsible for designing and managing an artist call that results in between 50 and 150 works installed on the lake bed. We always recommend inviting extra just because we lose about 10% in withdrawals, just because of the intense nature of the project. So last year we invited about 120 artists and we lost about 12. Again, that sits about 12%. Same thing in 2023. We had 36 artists and we lost 3. So again, this is something that is pretty standard. So always invite extra, especially if you have a specific number in mind. You're also going to want to consider including emerging, mid-career, and established artists. Just because we love all of our ranges of talent, it's important that we include everybody. And that also includes representation from diverse backgrounds, practices, geographies. And we're really trying to get a closer look at rural Nevada because they're a really important part of our cultural background in the state that we've been having a hard time reaching. So we're asking that that's also a serious priority for 2027. The way that the call works is that you will invite, I'm sorry, is it the next slide? Perfect. You will invite artists to apply, which means they will send you their idea, and then we, as the proposal committee sits down to review everything, they will select from the invited artists who've proposed. So, that being said, you will choose a theme that is accessible for all artists at any career stage. So you don't want to pick something that limits an established artist from, reaching the far edge of their creative practice, and you don't want to exclude an emerging artist because it is too exclusive, or something that you would have to read an article to understand the confines of the call. Just because it's important that, we don't all come from the same backgrounds. A really strong particular divide that we see is that folks who are excluded from academia can often have a hard time reaching into a specific call. So again, you want to make sure that it's good for any audience. So in 2027, not to pat ourselves on the back, but for 2025, gravity was something that was broad for, established faculty can take a part of, and also emerging artists who it's their second or third time having an exhibition. So anything like that is wide enough, but also, has a strong intention for what the direction of Art in Nevada should look like. Again, themes that are clear and publicly digestible are also easier to fundraise for. So the last thing you want to do is exclude your donors from understanding what they could possibly be supporting. As the project develops and builds, we also view that our donors are parts of the project, because they're also investing in ways that we, as curators, don't have the means to do. So it's really important that, you don't build something that can allow a conditional level of commitment or a conditional relationship with the work. So you want to have something that's wide, but also it can also have that level of really complex, unique, broad conceptual framework. So don't be afraid to go a little bit on like the more open side of things, but don't be afraid to reach for the stars either. For 2027, we'll request that each artist proposes 3 projects to increase feasibility and reduce attrition. So we often have issues with, folks getting about 2-3 months out of the project and they realize that, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I don't know how. They need to have 2 backup options, because for every time that we have an artist who wants to drop out because of the project feasibility, we also have artists who show up with something that they didn't initially propose, which will be built into the contracts of this next year. You must show up with something you've proposed. All proposals are allowed to go through transformation, but they do need to be cleared with the curation committee, which will be you. So it'll be up to your own discretion whether or not to keep the piece. But again, they have to propose 3 different ideas, because it also increases the level of the proposal outcome and then how hard they scrutinize each idea. So again, it's better across the board to have multiple ideas, and we saw a lot of those challenges happen in 2025 because we only requested 1. So So for your proposal, we're going to ask that you include 10 proposed artists who represent the direction and tone of what you imagine for the exhibition. They do not need to be confirmed. They do not need to propose a piece. This is just what you're thinking of including with your work. So if you have, 10 artists who represent a wide range of career levels, a wide range of geography and backgrounds. All of those things will set us up with a really good idea of what you imagine for the final exhibition. Again, they don't need to be confirmed, but give us a really good representation of who you think will do well representing the theme that you pick. All right. And then you'll also be selecting your own jury committee, or sorry, your own selection committee for the artist proposal selection section. So we will have our own proposal review committee, which reviews the curation proposals, but you will pick your own committee that is for the artist proposals, which you won't need until January, but please confirm them at the time of your application. Again, they also can be they also don't need to be confirmed, but this is someone that you would likely expect to participate. They don't need to be involved on the team, but they also can be in the biennial. So the entire I'll just read this blurb then. Your jury should include approximately 6 local artists, curators, or arts advocates. These people do not have to be directly involved with your team. The entire DBP team will also sit on your jury sessions to evaluate safety, ecological impact, logistics, and feasibility. So again, these are people that make a they're a good sounding board. They're people that you trust. Please also know that they can be artists that apply to the biennial. They just won't be able to vote on their own proposal, which is standard practice. And it was the same for 2025. So in 2025, we had Luke Risotto from Reno, who's in charge of the Depot Gallery. And then we had Manny Munoz, Gio, and Isaac Casada, who are all affiliated with Scrambled Eggs. We had Laura Espenson and then Heidi Kaye, who also exhibited in the biennial, and then myself and Yulia. So again, that makes up 8 people, and that will be pretty close to your initial to your selection committee. So include 6 people, 3 team members, and then us 3. So there will be 12 people on this committee. The committee will be expected to vote. They can vote remotely if it is more convenient for them. We recommend doing a remote vote and then an optional video meeting to discuss who's selected. All right. All team members must be present for installation days, event days, breakdown, and finalization days, as well as meetings. So this is an extremely strenuous project. Do not underestimate it. Please set aside enough time to make sure this project is a possibility with your schedule. Clear and consistent communication with DDP is required. If communication or responsibilities break down, we reserve the right to absorb the project and reassign leadership, pulling from the DBP executive team. Let me be clear. The number one thing we don't want to do is we do not want to take this project from you. This is something that we trust that you will do a fantastic job with. If something is going wrong, please just tell us what's going on and we'll figure out how to help, because this is something that we imagine will take hours of your time, and it's going to be something that is extremely transformative. This is a project for you. If anything is going on, you need to tell us what's going on. If your proposal is not selected for DBP 2027, it might be considered for future programming through us, the ACCND, or Laura's project, Gallery Rag. So again, we understand that some exhibitions are better for gallery spaces as well. So if you're not selected for the biennial, please don't be discouraged, because it's likely a really solid application. It's important to us that the biennial is built with the best context in mind. So selected curators will be expected to speak with donors, contribute headshots and bios, complete a site visit, sign an NDA and non-compete contracts, and attend regularly scheduled meetings. We assume that for the majority of the year, it will be once a month. Especially further out, we'll just do like a check-in, shouldn't take more than an hour. But as we get closer to the event, there will be likely weekly, possibly even daily, towards the very end of the project before the day of the event. So please keep in mind, you'll want to keep your April and your March of 2027 pretty wide open. Other than that, we're really flexible with scheduling, so we'll figure out a way to make it work. In addition, please review the timeline of the call before applying to make sure you're available for the dates or periods of activity. You must live in Nevada for the duration of the project. Another thing that I wanted to bring up was it's important that the curation team lives in Nevada because of the broad range of talent that we have. It's important that the curators are serving the artists in the best way possible. We have so much talent in the state. It's really important to us that this talent is being cultivated and homegrown. If you have someone on your committee who is from outside of the state, we need to hear a statement of justification as to why they're there. What do they have that isn't available in the state? So again, you need to find, if you're finding a scholar or things like that, or there's someone who's a specific consultant, make sure that there's nobody in town that offers what you are currently trying to bring in. Again, we see for this specific project, we see curation as an act of service to the artists in the community. It's important that this specific curation project is a means of bringing people together, platforming artists, and not so much, platforming the curation and complex ideological background of the curation itself, but what it does as a catalyst for others. So again, this is a platform to elevate other people. That being said, it's why it's important that Nevada is prioritized in this exhibition proposal. So one fun thing about this application that might be new to whoever's applying is that this process is going to be blind. So that means that anyone on the proposal review committee does not know whose application they're reading. The only one who knows who is applying is going to be me, and I will be arranging all of the connections from applicant to panelist. So it's important that this these applications are blind because of the way that we need to support artists who are going to commit to the specific nuances of the biennial and this call. We want to ensure that someone who is, maybe got a couple of curation projects under their belts, or might even be mid-career, isn't necessarily prioritized over someone who spent scrutinizing detail, who might be an emerging artist, scrutinizing detail to develop a really thoughtful proposal, who might be just a tad bit short on the professional development side of things. So again, it's really important that we're picking someone that does the biennial the best justice as possible, not someone who's necessarily the most qualified. So again, this is why the process is blind. Not saying that anyone mid-career is not eligible, but please keep in mind that we're looking for successful proposals, not necessarily successful creatives, if that makes sense. So that being said, the only place that you're going to put any personal identifying information is going to be in document 1. So don't include any personal identifiers in document 2. So document 1 is going to be in one single document in a PDF, is going to be your names, roles, bios, CVs, and Nevada affiliations. So what's going to be really helpful for us is that we see, or me, I'm sorry, I will be the only one seeing these. You will be giving me any sort of project that you've done in the state. You can include regional or even national or international projects, but you must include and prioritize your Nevada affiliated projects. It's really important us to see the level of commitment you've given to this state already, and why now? Why is this a good time for you to be reaching out for this project? So again, you're gonna include names, roles, bios, and you're gonna think about for CVs, let's say that you have about 15, 20 years of experience, you need to condense that down into 2 pages max. I will not be reading through 7 pages of your CV, and I'll get into document 1 more in a few moments. So again, don't include your name or anything else in document 2. You will be disqualified. I do check for them. I can only promise a really distinct level of scrutiny up until December 31st. I can check every proposal up until December 31st. Anything after that is going to be kind of a gamble, just because I can't guarantee that I will be able to scrutinize every single line of every proposal. So Document 1 will be DBP underscore 2027 underscore last name of your team lead, which, yes, means you need to pick a team lead. And again, this will be in the PDF. Document 2 is going to be your curatorial vision and theme, 200 to 500 words introducing the concept for DBP 2027. Again, you want to make sure that this is something that, why now? Why outside? Why with over 100 artists? And you want to get into the nitty gritty, especially if you've ever seen the biennial. Why do you want to do this project? Important to consider. Up next, you've got eligibility and connection. So 200 to 300 words, you're going to discuss your eligibility without personalized identifiers. So, and then also your expectations and how the 3-person team will organize labor. To discuss your eligibility and connection without personalized identifiers, think about, like, let's say that your, lead writer has been published in local and regional publications since 2022. You'll say our lead writer has been published in local or regional publications since 2022. You don't necessarily say which publications, you don't need to say their name. You're just going to discuss what they are loosely. And I'll be able to verify this against your CV. So if we get to the end and people have questions about the specific eligibility, I can disclose certain amounts of information that won't jeopardize your eligibility as far as the application being blind. Again, think about how the 3-person team will organize labor. So who does what are their expectations, and then if you have any specific goals or deadlines to happen at specific points. If you were a part of the 2025 biennial, you'll remember that every single artist met with an organizer to make sure that their project was up to a good timeline standard. So you want to make sure that, all artists are on pace and things like that. So again, the selected participant will be, the selected curation team will be filled in more about this. But again, there is a lot of labor that goes into spending time with artists, discussing their work with them, understanding how it's going to be installed, things like that. And then up next on document 2, you're going to list your proposed selection committee. So these are 6 proposed jurors that you plan to invite. Please include their title and organization. These panelists can be invited for your call for artists, but they cannot vote on their own proposal. And then list additional jurors if your original invitees have to forfeit their seat. So let's say that you invite someone ambitiously, but you haven't necessarily gotten a confirmation that, like, it's the director of a project that you really admire, which is in town or things like that. You can include their name, but please include a backup if you haven't already asked them. Okay. Up next is going to be your sample artist list. So you're going to want to pick 10 names with a probably 1 to 2 sentence of describing why their work connects to the theme. You're going to, again, want to demonstrate range and curatorial intention with those artists. So you're going to want to include emerging, mid-career, established, geographic, background, and anything like that. You're going to want to pick a really wide range of people that can represent the theme best. They don't need to be confirmed, as a reminder. Your timeline and work plan is going to be about 200 to 500 words, how your team will stay on track with DBP deadlines, and what thresholds you give yourself. So these are kind of objectives and loose goals that you imagine will feed the intention and the direction of the work in a timely manner. You want to always, always, always plan ahead. Think of completing things way earlier than you think you'll need to, because the way that this event usually unfolds, the logistics side will absolutely absorb everything else in the last month of the project. So keep in mind, if you're thinking about, oh, I want the writing to be done a month out, think about moving it a month and 2 weeks out. Give yourself just a tiny bit more time than you think you need. Community engagements or partnerships, which is optional, but again, preferred. Any collaborations, workshops, performances, satellite exhibitions, or additional components you envision. I will say, I don't think I'm allowed to officially say where it is yet, but we do have a confirmed satellite for the end of 2027. So again, this is something that the biennial will have a secondary indoor iteration and a really exciting gallery. But that is going to be a specific translation that happens from the lake bed to indoor. So it's a very unique situation where work that is initially intended for outside has to go through some sort of transformation so it can be acceptable inside. So again, think about different satellite exhibitions, workshops you want to include at the event, performances at the event, or things like that. And then I think one of the last items on document 2 is going to be the connection to the mission statement of the ACCNV. So that's going to be available on our website at accnv.org, but it's also right here. So the ACCNV is a 501c3 organization for the future of art in Nevada. The ACCNV advocates for artists by designing programming focused on socially engaged artist research and community projects. Our mission is to cultivate a supportive community where art thrives. We strive to enable Nevada artists to exercise their humanitarian need for expression and advocacy through art. So again, how does this specific call and this theme connect to the mission statement of the ACCNV? Oops. So you want to think about, maybe there's a connection for, focusing on socially engaged artist research, or there's a community project connection, or maybe you want to think about what does art thriving really look like, or even, expression and advocacy. It can be simple, it can be complex. Just think about ways that you can connect it back to, the organization that is going to be running this project. At the end, you're going to put all this information in one single PDF, and you're going to pick, it's going to be under DBP_2027 _. You're going to put the exhibition title and then in one single PDF. Up next, we've got the criteria. So first, I'm just going to go through everything that makes a fantastic application. The rubric is attached in the link for the application. So if you want to spend some time with this, it's available at the bottom. It's been updated since then. So a fantastic proposal in terms of professionalism is a flawless proposal with exciting language and convincing plan for success. You want to convince all of us that you have got this in the bag. Not necessarily that you know everything or you think you have all the skills, but that you are ambitious in your attempt to take control of this project. Like you see yourself absolutely killing it and totally learning all these new skills, understanding the complexities of, an outdoor exhibition, etc. So, and you want to think about details, especially. So a fantastic application quality is going to be an application that scrutinizes details and goes above and beyond to thoughtfully answer each item. So again, this is going to be something that I'm more than happy to review with you one-on-one if you would like to send me an email with your application details. Up next is the originality of the application. So the application is completely unique, diverging from existing research and local/regional programming. So this is something that can be kind of a challenge. For example, I'll contrast it with a fair application. The proposal closely mirrors current or recent exhibitions programming in the state of Nevada or regionally. You don't want to take an existing exhibition and translate it outdoors. You want to take something that's completely unique and new. Taking something that currently exists and putting it outside is not going to suffice. Up next, we've got research commitment. So the proposal has a strong commitment to challenges or themes with local art and evidence of investigation. The proposal's foundation depends on unique choices or ideas. So you want to think about bringing in, again, artists of all ranges, artists of all backgrounds, artists of different practices. Up next is going to be a Nevada connection. So this application has a deep, meaningful relationship with Nevada, and that could be anything. That could be history, that could be traditional, that could be spoken word, that can be physical, geographical, anything goes. It just needs to have some sort of strong connection. So it could also be about the site of the exhibition. We'll be outdoor on a lake bed. We haven't necessarily confirmed a specific lake bed yet, but think about how you can connect it to Nevada as, an ideology or something specific. Up next is going to be the breadth. A fantastically broad proposal includes proposed artists and an exhibition. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. The proposed artist and exhibition includes a rich range of artists spanning location and career level. Again, think broad, think unique, think something that, maybe the artists here proposing are folks that the review panel hasn't seen before or hasn't met before, but their work exemplifies a really strong connection to the direction of the show. Community evaluation. The proposal considers the current practices and themes of curators community, prioritizing a connection to Nevada. So depending on where you're from, if you're from Vegas, Reno, somewhere rural, or somewhere in between, you want to think about how does this connect to your own relationship with Nevada. Just because, this project is about serving others, it doesn't mean that the project doesn't have a really deep poetic connection to the curators itself. Pick something that you're really invested in. You don't want to pick something that is just kind of like this redheaded stepchild where you you love doing the work, but the theme isn't what you're excited about. Pick something that you're really interested in. And then also, we imagine that you want to apply to this project because you love your community. Think about those people as well as you're designing it. How does this project serve those people in that community, even if they can't make it to the specific site? So what does this research do in the long run? And then up next is problem solving. So the proposal deeply evaluates the context of the work and imagine challenges or complexities of an outdoor 2-day exhibition. So if you can think of some things that will be a challenge for you, how do you address those needs? How do you imagine, what do you need to learn? What do you currently know? What are things that you think will be helpful to learn along the way? Up next is ambition and enthusiasm. So the number one thing that we also report is that you're really excited about the possibility of this project. That you do this because you think it will be tons of fun and a really meaningful experience. So don't be afraid to let, this ambitious or enthusiastic language seep through your exhibition, because it's really important that we see that you care. We want to know that you give a damn about something that's this exciting. Yeah. And then don't be afraid to shoot for the stars. It's easier to scale back than it is to push you forward. If we see that your proposal is fantastic and you've got all these really complex, outlandish things, we know that we can definitely strive to make those things happen, more so than to try and push you into a further range where you're not comfortable with. So again, start broad and then we'll scale back if we feel that it's necessary. Again, the final item that will be scored is going to be the ACC&V connection. So the proposal deeply considers the exhibition in connection with our organization, as well as the programming and ethos. Which again, if you have questions about that, or you want some feedback about any of the items above, my contact is at the end of the presentation, which we'll go over in a moment. The last item on this rubric, which doesn't actually go into your score, this is just a sort of key that helps our review committee sift through what they're looking at. So if they see that this is a really strong proposal, but they have questions about some of the language that is happening, or some of the ideas that are happening, this is kind of a key to help them understand who wrote this proposal without necessarily giving it away. So this is going to be the only thing that's negative in this category is this little box right here. If you turn in an incomplete proposal, no matter your career goal, or sorry, your career level, you will be put in this box, which automatically sinks you to the bottom of the proposal. Even if your proposal has some weak points, please complete it in its entirety, because that's the only way to avoid this box. Don't leave any fields blank. Even if you don't know the answer, try your best. So these two categories right here pertain to emerging artists / curators. And again, that's a loose term that applies to any creative. So again, please don't feel excluded if you're not an artist or a curator. That should not stop you from applying. The emerging artist or curator with an extremely polished proposal gets placed in this box, and then an emerging artist with a complete proposal gets placed in this box. Same thing happens with mid-career and mid-career again. So you want to think about, so I'll be going over your CVs. If you have, national, international, regional projects, whether artist or curator, you'll likely be placed in this box. If you are really new to curating and you've maybe never had a job in curating, or this is your first, second, or third project, you're gonna end up in either in this emerging section. So again, this is not going to your score at all. This is just a key. So again, this is something that they only receive if requested as well. So when I hand over the application, I don't also hand over your key. It just goes in if, it's, a conversation between, let's say that we're down to two final proposals and, let's say one proposal is complete and it's solid, but then there's another proposal that's just fantastic. So they'll say maybe between a 4 or this curator right here who's mid-career and then an emerging curator. If we see that the emerging curator has a much higher ambition and idea and applied themselves really well in the application process, we see them as more qualified than the mid-career artist or curator who just submitted something that's complete. Even though it's good, it doesn't necessarily indicate that that's something that they want more than anything. So again, don't be afraid to let that enthusiastic language shine through. It makes a huge impact with our readers. Another thing to consider is that the folks on our proposal review committee aren't all, college educated. They don't all work in academia. This is something that we include folks from all backgrounds to help sift through these applications in the most appropriate way, because we understand that most artists and curators don't have time spent in academia, so we don't want that to be a barrier. So please know that you have no idea who's reading these applications. Write it as genuinely as possible. Some FAQs. So number 1, do I have to live in Nevada to complete this project? Yes. Do I have to participate in logistical/physical setup of this event? Yes. So we do expect that you're there on site with us setting up. I believe it will be a 3-day commitment out on the lake bed. You're absolutely, of course, welcome to go home and come back. We don't expect that you camp there. However, it's really important to us that you are there and committed on every level. If you can't commit to that, please know that it's okay if this opportunity isn't for you. We have plenty of others. This is something that is just extremely strenuous, and we really need a curator team who is committed to be there 100%. And do I have to work as a team? Yes. If you don't have a team, that's okay. Please still apply. We might connect you to other folks to help build you a team, especially if your proposal is really strong. And then up next, what happens if I need to back out? If unfortunately you have to back out, the DBP and ACCNV will assume all of the rights to your initial proposal, as well as absorb 100% of the project. Keeping group members as a part of the project is judged on a case-by-case basis. They may be removed from the committee. So let's say, for example, that your lead writer has to leave because some life circumstances happen, which we completely understand, but your curation lead stays on. That means we are likely able to keep part of the team available, or at least involved in the project. That doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be removed if someone on your team bails out, but please consider when you're building your team, you want to pick someone who you can count on to be there 100% of the way through the project. Because if someone on your team has to bail out, you don't want to lose access to something that's a really meaningful project. Is it hard? So I'm going to say yes, but please don't let this scare you off. Like, this is one of the most rewarding and fulfilling projects I've ever done. This is definitely something that's changed my life, and I hope that it's something that we can enable to pass around so that other people have the experience of doing this project. It's really important to us that this is just because it's hard doesn't mean that it's not possible. So please know that we're here to help you with everything that's hard along the way. And lastly, is it paid? So currently, no one on the ACCNV or DBP team is currently being paid for their work. So everyone in our organization is a volunteer artist. And, it's artist-run space. We don't have money. We don't have salaries. We do this literally just because we love it. So please keep in mind that we don't have the means to pay you. However, if you find the means to pay yourselves, that is acceptable. We just can't guarantee that that will be there. If you find a connection, or you write a grant, or you do all these things and you find a way to pay yourself, absolutely do it. That being said, so the event in 2025, full disclosure, cost about $10,000 to run. To fundraise more than $10,000 to support the curators getting paid is likely not possible because of the threshold that we hit last year. So please consider figuring out how to pay yourselves. We're more than happy to help you, write grants and do things, but we can't guarantee that our donors are going to be able to help you pay yourselves. So, yeah. Up next, if you have any questions, I understand this is the virtual version, so you can't raise your hand and ask me right now. Please go ahead and shoot me an email. And ask away or send me your draft. The only thing that that can get you disqualified by reaching out is do not send an email of a working draft to any other email, specifically because it would contaminate the blind process. The only inbox that does not have more than one set of eyes on it is mine. So if you send it to the Desert by Nail Project email, there are multiple people that oversee that inbox. That means that it will contaminate the blind process. So just to protect yourself and protect others in the application process as a whole, you can only email it to me at bailey@accnv.org. If you'd like review or feedback, you have to send it to me by December 31st for really in-depth, detailed feedback. It'll be December 31st. I can try to help you between December 31st and January 5th, but I can't guarantee that it'll be any good. So, please have a draft early, because then if you send it in and I see that you have some, personal identifiers and I want to save you from disqualification, please go ahead and try and get it done as early as possible. So yeah, again, any questions, please shoot me an email. Thank you so much and have a good one.